Hey folks, now that I've finished playing around in Doom, I thought I'd make a first impression video showcasing off some of the stuff that's in the game for anyone who's interested. If you're thinking about pre-ordering it and you maybe want to see kind of bits about the game and if you'd kind of be interested in this kind of thing, especially if you're into your first person shooters. The first thing I noticed about it mainly was that it's very much got a big kind of Quake kind of vibe. If you've ever played Quake before, you'll know what I mean. It's very like fast paced, quite bouncy, there's a lot of kind of jumping around. The maps are really kind of small. But it's actually really a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed it. I was only playing it kind of on my own because I didn't really know anyone else that kind of had the closed beta at the time, but it was a lot of fun as I was playing it. So it's definitely one thing to watch out for, especially if you're watching the video. You'll notice that it's very much a lot like Quake. I managed to get in the closed beta because I pre-ordered Wolfenstein The New Order, which automatically kind of gave me the chance to download it on Steam for the closed beta. So that's kind of the reason I got in. I wasn't really sure how else I was going to get into it, but I just kind of noticed on Steam one day that I'd got into the closed beta, so I thought I'd make a first impressions video on it. So far for the first few hours I played like about 3.5 hours of it so far. I've got to say I'm actually having a lot of fun. I usually play like games like Battlefield and Warframe. Games like that, like Warframe, the third-person shooter, and Battlefield, the first-person shooter, and it's actually really quite a kind of refreshing kind of shooter. A lot of the weapons are very kind of varied in how they work, especially alternate fires that they have. The game modes as well. One of the game modes is really interesting, and especially the demons. You get certain demons you can play as. You can only play as one in the beta I found so far, but even that is just a new mechanic that's actually a lot of fun. First off, guys, there are 2 game modes in the beta and there are 2 maps. Is this a multiplayer only beta? There's no kind of single player at the moment for the beta. It's just multiplayer at the moment. The 2 game modes are, one is a team deathmatch, which is pretty self-explanatory. You are pretty much just fighting against another team. With your team, and you're trying to get, I believe it's like 75 kills you need to get to, so the first team at 75 kills will win. And then they've got this cool kind of game mode called Warpath, which is pretty much like King of the Hill, where you have to capture a certain objective, but the objectives kind of moving slowly around the map as you're capping it, which makes it, you kind of go around the whole map. It's not just one point in the map you kind of have to capture, and you can just kind of sit there. It moves across the whole map, which is really kind of nice, and it kind of saves people from kind of camping certain spots and stuff like that. And it's actually really interesting. I actually really enjoyed that game mode. The 2 maps that they got are, one is called Heatwave, which is kind of set in like it's like some sort of kind of smelter. It's like a big kind of industrial kind of smelter. And then the second one is Infernal, which is like a demonic kind of ruin. So there are 7 weapons in the beta, not including the pickups that you can get. The first one is the heavy assault rifle, which is pretty much just an LMG. It's got a lot of rounds in the magazine with a scope. The second is a plasma rifle, which funnily enough shoots heated plasma, which deals splash damage, and the alt fire shoots an orb which bursts on the ground, which kind of puts burning plasma on the ground, which kind of does like an area of effect kind of damage to any enemies that kind of walk in it. Even yourself, if you walk in it on your own, it'll hurt you as well. It's not just for the enemies. There's also a rocket launcher which fires rockets that explode and impact, doing damage over an area. It does kind of like splash damage. It's actually quite an enjoyable weapon. It uses quite a lot of fun, especially when you're jumping around and kind of just launching like rockets at guys. And the alt fire actually detonates the rockets while they're kind of live, like in flight. It just live detonates them. So let's say like maybe your rocket's going past an enemy that you were trying to hit, you can detonate it like mid-flight and still cause a lot of damage to an enemy. One of the other weapons is a super shotgun, which is pretty much a double barrel, which fires buckshot. The alt fire tightens the spread for the shot. You'll probably see a lot of the footage I'm using that shotgun. It is a lot of fun, especially if you're close range. You'll just wipe out guys left, right and centre. And there is a vortex rifle, which is pretty much the sniper rifle in the game. Its alt fire zooms in and it charges the shot to full power if you're zoomed in. You notice quite a lot of guys using it, but the maps are quite small, so it's kind of hard to use it sometimes, but it is actually really powerful. There's also a lightning gun, which is quite like a short range kind of energy weapon that fires like a beam of electricity. The alt fire creates an arc, which whenever you hit a surface, it'll kind of hit that surface and damage enemies around it, like multiple targets. So it's really good if you're coming across like a couple of enemies and you want to do a fair amount of damage to both of them and not just the one of them, because the beam itself for the normal fire is quite kind of tight. So if you've got it kind of spread out, you can do some decent damage to quite a few enemies. And lastly is a static rifle, which is pretty much just a basic rifle which charges as you move around. So if you're constantly kind of running around, there's like a little kind of circle in the kind of crosshairs that'll constantly kind of charge up. If you're not moving around and you're kind of like standing about, it'll start draining down. So the more you move about, the more damage you do with the rifle. And it does quite a lot of damage actually, especially if you use the alt fire to zoom. If you're kind of moving around a lot and then you zoom in at an enemy far away and you get a good shot at them, you'll do a decent amount of damage. There's also basic kind of frag grenades that detonate as soon as, well, the timer starts once it hits a surface. It doesn't kind of start in the air, which is quite nice. There's also a personal teleporter, which is really quite cool. And there's a siphon grenade, which is probably my favourite, which creates a field, like a big kind of red field that leeches health from enemies that enter it and gives the health back to you, which is actually really powerful. I've been using that quite a lot. You'll probably see a lot of footage. I will be using that. Overall, I'd say I've really enjoyed my time kind of playing the closed beta so far, and I'm actually quite excited for actually when it gets released. It wasn't really a game that I was thinking a lot about. When I seen it, you know, I liked the multiplayer, it looked really good in that, but I never really kind of thought about the multiplayer side of it. I was more interested in like games like Overwatch that were coming out for like multiplayer and stuff. But now that I've actually got a chance to kind of play the game, you know, as is at the moment, for it being a closed beta, it is actually really enjoyable. Really enjoy it, especially if I'd say if you had like people that you knew playing with you, it'd be really good fun. And I can see it becoming something that maybe becomes competitive, because you know Quake is still quite a competitive game. You know, they still have tournaments for it and stuff like that. So I could see it still, you know, a game like this becoming competitive and becoming something that becomes like quite a serious multiplayer game, because it is actually really enjoyable. And I think the Doom 3, I think a lot of guys can still play the multiplayer for that. But this is like the first time I played any of the Doom multiplayer games, and I've really enjoyed it. All the kind of nifty kind of weapons with all the different alt fires and stuff really do make it kind of come to its own, especially with the demons and the different game. I mean, there was only 2 game modes, but that Warpath one kind of impressed me, just how much it kind of got you kind of move around the map as a whole. But so, to be honest, I'm really impressed with the game, and I think I'll probably be pre-ordering it very soon. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, you know, if you've got any questions or whatever, please just leave comments in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.